With the beginning of the new year, many of you may have resolved to take on a new challenge, like starting a business, changing careers, or launching a creative project. Whatever your next move might be, tackle it with Squarespace. Whether you need a landing page, a professional blog, or an online store, Squarespace allows you to create a custom platform where you can make your latest goals into a reality. So start your free trial today. Go to squarespace.com and enter the offer code TEST, that's TEST, like the name of this podcast, and get 10% off your first purchase. Squarespace. Make your next move.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, January 12th, 2017, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hello and welcome back to sunny San Francisco. It's so nice outside, isn't it, everyone?
I remember sun. I saw it last year.
What are we complaining about? It is It's still in the 50 degrees here.
It was 40 for a while. It was in the 40s for a while. And I'm not saying Minnesota doesn't have it worse.
Though that was biblical the last week with the downpours.
Torrential downpour. We are getting a lot of rain in San Francisco this week. People are, we've been in a drought. There's no secret about that. California, the entire state has been in a drought. And so it's a big deal, not only that we're getting rain, but also typically native San Franciscans, we freak out when there's rain because it comes so infrequently. When it does come, it's really heavy. All the traffic gets messed up, and like lightning is it's a novelty to us.
It took me about an hour and a half to get to my university's campus yesterday, which was a total of 3 miles across the city.
I saw footage of people climbing up broken escalator railings in order to get out of BART.
Oh, because it was flooding?
No, because the trains had been stopped because of fallen trees, and so they couldn't get the trains out of the underground stations, and the escalators weren't working.
Wow. On a positive note, though, Norm, San Francisco is no longer officially in a drought.
Oh, just the city?
It's most of the Bay Area, actually much of Northern California.
Our reservoirs are filled.
Yeah, and the first snowpack measurements weren't altogether that positive, but that was before these epic storms.
How about
the
that?
last couple weeks.
That's great news.
Yeah. It's just, the rest of California is still in a massive drought.
It was illegal to wash your car with a hose. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't wash my car.
Yeah.
I haven't washed it.
So now
a
you
very
can.
long time. Yeah. Let's kicked off by talking about the weather because we've officially run out of things to talk about. It's just a pleasant thing to do. Deal with it. How have you guys been?
Good.
I'm totally sick.
Oh,
got this is cold season. I feel like a lot of my friends have some sort of virus or just general malaise right now, and it got me.
I've been dodging the bug like Neo. Just bullet time.
You can see the bullet. You can see the code.
They're everywhere.
The bug code.
All you people are sick.
You hit the debug button.
Everyone in my life is sick. Somehow I've avoided it.
Yeah, I've done a pretty good job. I was packing myself full of those vitamins. Vitamin C. Got some OJ right in front of me.
Though the benefit is I get to watch a lot of TV when you're sick.
So let's talk about what Kishore's been watching in our first segment, the pop culture news. All right, we got to start off by talking about Sherlock.
So it got panned on this podcast last week, not by me.
It did?
By other people on this table. Well, there were some concerns about the first episode. Did you watch episode 2?
Oh, I did.
That was quite the return to form.
Yeah, it got me interested in a way. So I think, First of all, for people who haven't watched Sherlock, go watch it. It's really nice. And we talked last week about what an interesting release schedule it has, in that every year or 2 years at this point, we get 3 episodes, 4.5 hours long of content, which is different than waiting for like 10 episodes of Game of Thrones every year, split among 10 episodes, 10 hours. Here it's 3 episodes, basically movies, which is a different writing challenge, different production challenge, but it also allows the creators and showrunners of the show to create a mini story arc within 3 parts and tie in things and not have any filler. The first episode, and so every minute of Sherlock, because you get so few minutes per year, every episode feels like it shouldn't be wasted. And there has been criticism of the first couple seasons where it felt like the second episode of the first season, like some episodes don't stand up as well. And this season started off with an episode that I think wasn't that great.
It wasn't, but it did set up what we saw this week. And we're not going to talk spoilers here, but I will say there was a conflict between, John and Sherlock that resolved pretty beautifully. Mm-hmm. And it was much more emotional than what I was expecting out of Sherlock.
It got really personal.
Yeah.
And I think these shows, at some point, you're watching, now that we're 4 seasons in, you're watching more for the relationship and the character development between the protagonists than you are for just the mystery, even though it is technically a mystery show.
But there was still payoff from the actual mystery kind of reveal, too. And there was a larger story at play. Again, not much of a secret, that revealed itself in kind of a brilliant way.
And also
return.
Acknowledged and addressed some of the things from the first episode.
Absolutely. It's a great return to form. And what I did immediately afterwards, just because it was on my DVR, I watched the CBS show Elementary, which is about Sherlock Holmes as well.
Mm-hmm.
That show's not nearly as good. That's terrible.
I think some people love that show.
And not compared to actually watching the British Sherlock show. Watching Elementary, which is up against it right now in the U.S. It airs at the same time.
Oh, Sunday nights.
Yeah.
Wow.
It does not hold up.
Well, I think that's a more straightforward procedural.
Yeah.
And maybe it's tough when you have these different characterizations. Like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies came out while the Sherlock films or the Sherlock TV show was on air, and and you couldn't help but compare them. The one, did we talk about this? The next Sherlock incarnation?
No.
Oh, there's a new Sherlock incarnation. It's a film. It's not the Ian McKellen.
Is it Guy Ritchie again directing?
It's not Guy Ritchie. Now you might like this. It's Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly.
Oh, fun!
As Sherlock and Watson. It
Dude,
seems like a no-brainer idea.
I'm finally in. This is for me.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. A comical take, a farcical take, even on Sherlock Holmes. And as long as for that movie,
I'm
I
laughing
hope there's
already.
a good mystery. Exactly. Jeremy's already mad. It writes itself. I hope it didn't write itself. I hope that it actually has some bits of cleverness in it. This past week also brought us the Golden Globes, the first big major awards event of the season, the awards season. Did you guys watch it?
I did. I parked myself on the couch all day Sunday, from football to Golden Globes to Sherlock. So I did watch it. We have to talk about the Meryl Streep thing, which I think lit up social media.
That's the only thing I watched. Yeah.
So Meryl Streep's acceptance of the Lifetime Achievement Award given by the Golden Globes, she gave a how long was it? 5 minute?
Longer than
minute?
they had anticipated, I think.
A 5-minute argument for empathy.
Yes. And loved the speech. I think she hit all. It was absolutely on point, and I couldn't help though but read the devil advocate takes that that speech and that message in that context in the Hollywood glitzy ballroom is exactly the thing that perpetuates the bubble and the division. And then we're not going to get into politics, but it's
so. I love Meryl Streep. I have to say, this week on my science podcast, Inquiring Minds, we had this Yale psychologist on, Paul Bloom, who just came out with a new book called Against Empathy, about our overindulgence in empathy. So watching her give a sort of a screed in favor of empathy when we just had this long conversation with a scientist about how that indulging in empathy is a short-term benefit, but obviously sometimes ignores long-term consequences was kind of a funny combination.
Can you give an example of how that would manifest?
Well, it's that if we overindulge in empathy, where we place ourselves in other people's shoes,
Sure.
we're going to have this very personal take on situations, and that emotional drive for decision making may cloud from the data that represents the larger society as a whole. We may be making decisions for key individuals as opposed to the greater good.
Are you saying that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few?
Yeah, that
why-
is a good summary of that.
All right, the Spock thesis.
So I mean, I love Meryl Streep mostly because of like how amazing of an actress she is. But I definitely was on the cynical side of her speech. Though we should talk about the rest of the Golden Globes.
Well, I'll go back one more thing. The thing that I took, of course, all the political. I mean, it wasn't even subtext. It was right out there. The point of her speech, well taken. But the thing that was actually the bigger subtext was how heartbroken she was about Carrie Fisher. And I mean, it was how she concluded the speech and how she talked about in this past week, how terrible she's felt. And that was heartbreaking to hear that. And that day, it was Sunday, right? Sunday at the Golden Globes. I just watched earlier that day the Carrie Fisher documentary.
There's a Carrie Fisher documentary?
There's a new one, the Carrie Fisher and her mother.
HBO?
Yes, it's on HBO. It's a 90-minute. It's actually 2 hours. 2-hour documentary that they released. Timing is I don't know if they had it at the ready and they just decided to release it because of Deborah Reynolds and Carrie Fisher's deaths, or because they originally scheduled to release it. It's called Bright Lights, and it's about their relationship. And they've been filming it since 2014. And I'm sorry we haven't recorded an episode of Still Entitled, because this is where I was kind of saving all our Carrie Fisher talk for that. But watching that documentary, which itself is heartbreaking, because it's a love story. It's about their relationship, a mother-daughter relationship, and about what it means to be this celebrity family. Watching that and then bookending that with Meryl Streep's speech, and then I watched Postcards from the Edge after that. Yeah.
Wow, this is Depresso night at Norm's house.
Yeah.
Wow.
I highly recommend the documentary. It's called Bright Lights. You don't have to have seen Wishful Drinking to watch this one. And don't go into it thinking that it's about like Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. That's very loosely mentioned. They did film it while she was in London in pre-production for episode 7. So you see some of her, like, you know, her she speaks very frankly, of course.
I saw a trailer for it, and she said she's getting ready to go do a shoot for for Star Wars 7,
Yep.
D2.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, exactly. Like, she's very funny. She's so witty, so funny. And watching Postcards from the Edge, that's such a great film. It's also so snappy, so witty, and Meryl Streep playing basically a surrogate for Carrie Fisher is wonderful. So that's what I want to take away from Meryl Streep's speech, and what I want to talk about. Less so the political stuff, because that's so fun.
Were you surprised about any of the awards? La La Land just basically walked away with so much. Spoiler.
Yeah, and
that wasn't your favorite film.
It wasn't my favorite film. I don't know what I would have. I mean, it was to be expected. I'm really glad like Moonlight won for best feature, but those are separate categories. You know, comedy, musical, and drama. The comedy musical category has always been funky to me.
I don't know. The Martian was a pretty great comedy and/or musical.
Right, like it's. I think I said on Still Entitled, like La La Land is a movie made by Hollywood to be in love with itself, and that's not a bad thing. The art form is well appreciated, and it's a really wonderfully, lovely crafted film. It disappointed me in some ways.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to say you're being too harsh on it.
Maybe, and like I said on Still Entitled, maybe the fact that I'm too harsh on it is because I wanted to love it so much more, and I want it to be more perfect than it was.
I feel like it is doing well, partially because of how 2016 has had a pall over it in a lot of ways, with all the celebrity deaths, and then a lot of the spotlight films like Moonlight are really hard, depressing. Manchester by the Sea La La Land is, I think, the only one in this sort of area that's an uplifting tale.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if it just sort of broke out in that same way, like Shakespeare in Love won the Oscar that one year, which is ridiculous.
Over
but
Saving Private Ryan. No. I don't think the same way. A lot of it's the politics of Hollywood, and not like the actual politics, but like the actual the way people vote for films, the way films are shown and screened. Sometimes these things are predictable. When like the achievements in filmmaking are celebrated sometimes more than the films themselves.
Speaking of films, we have talked pretty extensively about Axanar on this podcast, the fan film,
Star Trek fan film.
quote unquote fan film.
Yeah, and contrary to what Paramount had said in terms of the controversy being over and a resolution being reached between the two parties, nope, they went to trial, and we got a judgment this past week, which is that Axanar is not fair use. It does infringe on Paramount CBS's Star Trek rights.
Why?
Well, they're blatantly using somebody else's IP.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's the core of it.
Are they doing it for profit?
So that part is a little less clear to me. I mean, they obviously did the Kickstarter or Indiegogo, whatever it was, to crowd raise money, and they're going to do some form of distribution of it, which you would think would be attached to some sort of money-making endeavor.
And it's not, but it's definitely not a parody.
It's not a parody. I mean, they cast actors that played roles in the Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
Minor characters. I feel very mixed about this, and I said so on Twitter this week that I'm saddened by this, that it had to come to this, that it had to go to trial, that they couldn't work it out in some way, shape, or form. But a lot of the people that replied to my tweet had a very different feel about it. They felt like this crossed some line.
The ruling or the film?
No, the film crossed a line, that this was no longer a fan film anymore. This was a professional film that used somebody else's IP.
That really positioned itself as a sequel to, or in universe sequel using, like, as the judge said, copyrighted material, including characters.
Well, I mean, the aim to gain profit from a project has to be part of that definition. So if that's still unclear about this, I mean, eventually fan films are just going to look very good as technology and skill sets improve. This is an inevitability.
But we're talking about the difference between the way it looks, and yes, it does look fantastic. The CG is great, and the production value is there. But in terms of what stories and characters, like how different would
But if we shot something on High 8 and I was Picard, I mean, I'm sure we wouldn't get sued. But
are you sure about?
Yeah, because that's terrible casting.
But if
that's why,
if we were able to sell that, if for some reason, for one reason or another, like that production was able to raise crowdfunding money and it was able to be distributed in some way,
then you're looking at money. I mean,
then yeah, I think it's more about its use of the copyrighted ideas and characters was how it got money, is what the judge ruled on.
I see.
I'm still sad about this. Like, I see no distribution model for a fan film like this that will raise any appreciable money. We're talking about tens, maybe low hundreds, thousands of dollars on the high end, as possibility. But what it really does is it invites these like hardcore fans to create more products, I think. And
really,
that
it's a slippery slope.
enriches the universe.
Do you think Disney or Lucas in the earlier days would have let them get away with it?
No.
Lucas always draws the line on profit.
Yeah, and it is. I think the big takeaway from this is that the precedent set by this ruling, really could be a slippery slope to things that aren't fan films, but people on Etsy creating designs and costumes and props that are.
Isn't that
influenced.
happening though?
It is happening, but that's the slippery slope where we don't want these rulings to.
I don't think anyone doing that
that
on Etsy doesn't know that they're walking a line. They all know that.
It's true. It's true. And the line is hopefully not constantly shifting.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other TV and/or films?
I
you guys
did watch. I watched one TV item, and I have one film recommendation. That is already the best film I saw in 2017.
Okay.
I've seen one film in 2017. But the TV I saw was on Saturday night. I watched the Mythbusters reboot. The Mythbusters The Search, which isn't a reboot. It's a sort of a reality show to identify potential hosts for a Mythbusters reboot.
Mm-hmm.
Reaction online is not entirely positive, especially from the hardcore Mythbusters fans. I think they feel disappointed that there isn't the same sort of core of that show where you see process and joy and science all come out.
So it's less about the personalities, the criticism's less about the personalities and more about the formatting.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think I didn't really see anything that indicated that people didn't like the people on the show, but this is in a reality context. Like people are getting eliminated.
Were they known people, known names?
I think they're probably known to people online, but they're certainly not known figures in sort of a broad landscape. So like, there's a few of them have like YouTube channels, but they're mostly just makers of different sorts.
Cool.
And they had to do one build project, and there was one kind of silly project. But the build project was from Fast and the Furious, where they had to build like a car ejector seat that ejected somebody sideways. Like the door would rip off, and it would shoot them out sideways. And it was actually kind of fun watching the build. I just wanted more build.
Yeah.
More build, less...
You're spoiled.
Yes.
You're spoiled by some of the production that you might find on the internet, on YouTube channels and websites.
Absolutely. Because they seem like they were making some difficult choices. All that being said, it was really great to see something Mythbusters-esque back on TV.
But you saw that in the White Rabbit Project.
Yeah. And I've been watching that too. So like, I keep it coming. I will eat it up because I find I have an unending appetite for it. Moreover, my 6-year-old loved this.
Oh, okay.
We were watching it, and it was like his bedtime, and like he was just like, "No, I'm not going to bed. I'm watching this thing." And he's just obsessed with it because he likes watching shows where people build stuff.
And I think that's great. I mean, we want more of these science communication shows in any platform, whether it's YouTube, Netflix, or TV. And we do have shows like Bill Nye's show that's coming up, and I love the angle he's taking with that. And the fact that these shows they don't feel outdated and still resonate with audience and younger audiences. And if your son's going to watch this and feel like he wants to be a Mythbuster, then I think it's a success.
Yeah. Let's not, make any qualms. It's not as good as the original at this point, but we're also just one episode in to what this is. The best film of 2017 is The Leader at the box office.
Is it Rogue One?
It is not Rogue One.
What?
Rogue One got knocked off.
Wait, hold on. Let me guess. Is it Sing?
No.
Is it Patriots Day? I know what it is.
What is Patriots Day?
Oh, it's the Mark Wahlberg plays More American Patriots movie.
It is Hidden Figures, which is the story of 3 African American women who worked at NASA and helped come up with different components of the space race.
This is a huge film. Kevin Costner. I mean, I can't remember the other cast, but it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah,
this is a major film.
Yes.
Did this premiere last
year?
Name
me one white guy, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think
in the film.
No, there's a lot of white guys in this film. What are you talking about?
Did this premiere last year? Is this an Oscar contender for last year?
I have no idea.
It seems like it would want to be.
That's how it felt. Actually, it felt like a serious film. That's why I was surprised that it's like I was watching it in January, which is usually when the dregs come out. So it was really great and uplifting, and but also not pandering.
That's the fear I had, because watching the trailer, you saw the story arc of these 3 women who were brought in to basically be the human computers, the calculators for do all the
one of them in particular. Yes.
3 African American women.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the trailer made it feel like I knew what the story was going to be. She's going to get brought up in a critical moment for John Glenn's first spacewalk, or for his first trip to space, and then it would be at the end a huge accomplishment. But you say it doesn't pander. My question is, does it represent NASA and give you a sense of what NASA was like in that time.
You get the sense of
Without
how much
over-dramatizing it.
pressure was on this. And I think that's pretty clear. I think there was probably an over-dramatization of the drama around their role. I'm sure they faced these hurdles, but how important they were in the context of probably the larger problems that NASA was facing at that time with the larger race, it was hard to paint that large of a world around
So it doesn't
it.
shy away from technical details.
Oh, no, there's a lot of technical stuff in there. And this is really about John Glenn orbiting the Earth for the first time. And so what was special about it for me as well is we just lost John Glenn, a month ago. And so in a way, this is probably the most excellent tribute to that achievement of him orbiting the Earth for the first time.
But I don't think you can attribute the film's success and the
No.
reception to the timing of its release. I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
It's a nice, sweet film. It's by no means probably going to be my favorite film of 2017.
It is so far, though.
But yeah, so far it just blows everything else out of the water.
Better than Hidden Fences.
Hidden Fences.
It did come out last year. Came out Christmas Day.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the rules specifically for when it can.
Calendar.
It's calendar year.
Yeah.
For it just needs to be in theaters,
Think
have
so.
some type of release.
But I haven't heard any sort of, award buzz for this movie.
It's only a $25 million film, actually. That's impressive.
Wow.
It is.
Yeah.
Wasn't La La Land only like 30? Yeah. So
Yeah.
a lot of these films are relatively cheap.
So what's not cheap though are institutions, museums, and
They are if someone else pays for them.
they're cheap for the public, I
Yeah,
guess, if
for the
someone else
city.
pays for them. And it's very rare that a philanthropist will pay upwards of $1 billion to set up an institution and museum, and for a collection that they own to share. We're of course talking about George Lucas and his. What's the name of this museum? There's a.
Is there a name of it?
There is. It's a really fancy. It's a museum of narrative art.
Museum of Narrative Art.
That's right. And basically, it's not just about film, but George Lucas has a huge collection of not just the props and the original Star Wars archives, which he kept, the Lucasfilm archives. He didn't sell that to Disney, but also he's collected memorabilia throughout from film history and from art history. Norman Rockwell paintings, banner posters from releases from films, and that's all going to live in this.
It was going to live in Chicago.
Well, it was originally going to live in San Francisco.
And then it was going to go in Chicago? No, I thought Chicago first.
No,
San
no.
Francisco first.
It was
So-
Presidio in San Francisco.
It's
Oh,
extremely sore
boy.
point
Yeah.
for San Franciscans.
So that was a second chance.
So
Oh my goodness.
I know. So the story was Lucas had been looking for a place to house this this collection, a museum that he would build and he would pay for years. And it commissioned studies and commissioned architects to do designs. And originally he wanted to have it in the Presidio in San Francisco, which is a federal park. And the Presidio is also where Lucasfilm is currently. It's also where the Walt Disney Family Museum is. So it made a lot of sense. These barracks could be turned into a museum, which is a great place for it.
But the Presidio has a really specific look to it because they've tried to maintain that sort of late 1800s, early to mid 1900s military feel.
Brick
of all the
buildings, absolutely. And the trust, this board of, I believe, 5 members who oversees the Presidio, they vote to approve or veto these pitches. And they've been pitched because it's valuable real estate, obviously, being in prime part of San Francisco, overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge. So George Lucas pitched this thing, and it was denied. It was led along. It was for years. He thought it was going to happen, denied. It was a huge blow. And so he was going to bring it to Chicago, where I believe his wife is from.
Yeah.
And the people of Chicago didn't want it, apparently.
It was going to be on the waterfront right on Lake Michigan, also a very sensitive area, similar rejection.
And so he had taken the idea back, said, fine. And Lucas, we know, and when it comes to land, is petty because he was the one who also sold. They wouldn't let him. The NIMBYs wouldn't let him build his studio up in the North Bay, and so he sold it to low-income housing. So he said, "Fine, I'm not going to try to fight this out. He's going to bring it back to the West Coast. And so the options were the San Francisco at Treasure Island. It's another old ex-military base, a little more difficult to get to because you have to go on the Bay Bridge, and from the west side, from San Francisco, it's not the best traffic.
By the way, it's also has significant pollution in there. They have pretty significant military waste.
Yep, that's right. But there's definitely the space there. It was the location of the 1915 World's Fair, I believe. Oh, no. That was Pan Pacific. I believe it was
Exposition.
Exposition. That was the
built,
40s.
It was built to be an airport. It was going to be SFO. And then they just, can you imagine landing there? And then they built it down South Bay, and they had the landfill there.
Wow. So it's long story short, it's not going to be in San Francisco. It's going to be in LA. It's going to be, I believe, by USC, his alma mater.
That tells me a couple things. Like, one, that the people of LA are much more susceptible to George Lucas's Jedi mind tricks. No, that joke didn't work at all.
I'm still peeved. I'm just bummed.
I'm not. I don't think Treasure Island was the right place for it. And LA,
The Presidio was the right
Oh,
place
absolutely.
for it.
I would have loved that. I'd forgotten about that, but now that you mention it, that does make sense. But I think LA is perfect for it. They're going to love it.
Yeah, and it's close enough that it's worth the trip down.
Have you seen the building?
Yes. So they had, as architects do, they have lots of renderings and concept art, and it looks like a Star Trek building. I'm just going to put it out there. It looks like something out of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Come on.
I
Now
felt
this looks like a Naboo ship.
I felt like they went to I felt like they went to Apple's new headquarters and like, this isn't futuristic enough as a giant building.
Well, it's not it's not a donut. It's not a spaceship.
You mean it's not the Apple mothership?
It's not the Apple mothership. And thank goodness George Lucas didn't take a cue from those Chinese billionaires who build buildings in the shape of starships. But it does kind of look like a starship.
I think it's gorgeous. I can't wait to see this. I wonder how long it'll take to build.
I know.
$1 billion he is committed to. He's covering the building costs.
He's covering everything. The building costs, the landscaping, the infrastructure. Of course, the city needs to find a way to get people there. And
well, it's already in an area with museums.
Right.
Do you think you'll walk in and be like, okay, this was worth the prequels? Like that kind of thing? Do you think you're going to have that feeling?
I wonder how much will be dedicated. Like if that's the first thing you'll see, because I guess he gets to decide.
And going back to museums and how difficult it is to set up institutions, there's a saying that institutions are buying buildings is the easiest way to destroy an institution because they're so expensive and it's a huge commitment. Like the Academy has their new building that's being set up right next to LACMA. That's where we saw the costumes exhibit. Going back to Debbie Reynolds, she for the longest time she couldn't, in her lifetime. As the original Hollywood memorabilia and prop collector, could not find a place for her incredible collection of costumes and props, and to a point where they had to auction off these priceless film props just to maintain the collection. So things like the Dorothy's red shoes, the dress, and all those things were given away. It was quite heartbreaking.
Having been to the touring Star Wars costume show, I can guarantee that he has a collection that would, that is not going to fit inside this building. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a rotating collection.
Which is how you would want it.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
The other analog is in terms of like big billionaires setting up institutions is Seattle and the EMP. That
Paul Allen?
That's Paul Allen, and it's his collection, his love of music and movies.
EMP is a great museum. If you haven't been there in Seattle, it's so much fun.
Yeah, and they rotate collections in and out all the time. And as a facility, it's a great landmark. It's it's designed by Gehry, and it's eclectic. I think that's it for the pop culture news. Let's get into tech because we have a lot to talk about.
Boom, boom. And we'll unmute and play the song.
So the YouTube commenters last week really railed on our discussion of Bitcoin.
No.
For a couple reasons. But one of them did highlight the fact that some of them highlighted the fact that you should have really held on to your Bitcoin.
Wait. First of all, the YouTube commenters, and I love you guys out there. If you're watching this on video,
It's the best place for financial advice.
they railed on the fact that the podcast was labeled "Goodbye Bitcoin," which is how we the name of the podcast always comes from a talking point in the podcast. And yes, we did not talk for 2.5 hours about Bitcoin, but we did discuss it, and
that was one part of it. But also, there were some people that were railing on how
I should have kept it.
that you should have kept it.
Wrote it all
And
the way down? Really?
Do you want to rub it in now?
Sure, Bitcoin is valued at $776 right now, and I agree. I should have waited one more day. So with the point that its high point, which was $1,138, I sold it at $1,000. So I did lose 10% potentially more money, but now it's under 800 again.
Now, I'm sure that the savvy Goldman Sachs executives in the YouTube comments would tell you can't look at it week to week. You got to go long term. So look at it over the next 3 years. Maybe you should hold on to it.
There's
was in
some
the long
bad
term.
fundamentals here, though. So the reason it slid so much, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole around this, is most of Bitcoin trading happens on on the Chinese exchanges, and the Chinese yuan is down about 7% against the U.S. dollar over the last year or two, and they thought the Bitcoin rise was due in part to certain currency traders hedging against that rise and investing in Bitcoin. Well, investigators from the Chinese government are looking into those Bitcoin exchanges right now. So that's driven down the price by 20% over the last few days. No one likes when your currency is being investigated. There's a couple details there I'm sure I didn't get exactly right, but the overall point is that it's under scrutiny in China, where a majority of the trading happens for this.
All right.
Yep.
Good job, Norm.
Yes, I feel vindicated. All right, let's talk about CES. Last week was CES. What a weird timing for CES, because
It's always
January 1st.
then.
It's always the first week of January, but because New Year's was on a Sunday, Monday was technically a federal holiday, and so CES this year started, and they had 2 days of press conferences, so the show floor didn't even open until Thursday. And the show floor runs for 4 days typically, so it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Most people left after 2 days, Thursday, Friday. So it was almost like a CES cut short, which I have no complaints about because we only needed to be there for about 2 days. And we were there for 2 days. Joey and I and Simone were there and saw some stuff. And what would you guys like to know about?
Well, first, we're going to hold any of the VR stuff, which I was really interested in, for the VR Minute, right?
Yeah. I will talk about the Ausic headphones because I don't think that belongs in the VR Minute. But so CES, massive convention. It really takes over Vegas. 200,000 people descend upon Vegas, Las Vegas Convention Center, which is already being expanded. They took down the Riviera and they're going to build more convention space. It's packed. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of square foot of space, and all the hotel rooms are booked, and most of it is, frankly, garbage or things that we don't care about. So CES is really about finding the areas where areas of interest, the segment areas where you have, whether it's 3D printers or drones or VR, that you're going to find the companies you're interested in, and then from there, picking out the products that you're interested in. And from that, there are maybe 24 things that we might be interested in. So we're very targeted.
I want to hear first about, I know you released a video about it, but the laser cutter.
Yeah, so there's a whole laser cutting section and
there's a laser cutting section now?
Well, rapid prototyping section, CNC, lots of 3D printers still. Form was there, Lulzbot was there, but there are companies also doing laser cutters. And Full Spectrum Laser, it's an old laser cutter company.
Based out of Vegas, I think.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there's down the road.
They have been doing high-end lasers and also hobby lasers for a couple of years now, and they showed their latest hobby laser, and which the big difference between a professional laser, $10,000 laser, and a hobby laser is the type of laser it uses, whether it's a metal laser or a CO2 glass laser. When we talk about things like the Glowforge, that's a CO2 glass laser, which little lower wattage, maybe a little slower, but definitely much cheaper. The tube itself is going to be only a couple $100, and then you have the gantry and the software and the chassis. So Muse is the name of Full Spectrum Laser's new hobby laser. It's a $5,000 laser cutter, It looks a lot like the Glowforge to a point where I'm like, wow, did they design this after looking at the Glowforge? So, like, it has curved corners.
Yeah, the
um,
outside body with
looks
like white
and glass top.
Yeah.
It looks and with the LED light strips on the side, it looks a lot like a Glowforge, but with few notable differences. One, it's a steel enclosure, so it's heavy. Steel also means that if the laser, if your mirror breaks or something, an accident happens, you're not gonna hit the plastic. But that's a very, very, I believe, rare situation. So maybe it's just a manufacturing benefit. But it uses a CO2 laser, 45 watts, and the laser is cooled. It's water cooled, which is curious because the Glowforge, I believe, does not have a water cooling system for its tube. So the cooling may give it longer life on the Muse.
But it's a CO2 laser, just like Glowforge,
just like the
right?
Glowforge. So they said it's about 2,500 hours of use, I want to say. I don't want to misquote them. It was around that is their stated use, which is like 2 to 4 years of use, and then they'll sell you for a couple $100 a replacement a laser, which is supposedly easily built in. But has a lot of shared features of the Glowforge in terms of there's also a camera now on the laser head. They do it a little differently, where the Glowforge has 2 cameras, one in the center, locked in the center, and one on the head for focusing. This one has 1 camera on the head, and it takes 9 pictures and then stitches them together in their software.
Huh.
So you don't get blurred edges because they're wide-angle lenses.
Yeah.
Anyway, it does not need to be connected to the internet.
Yeah, they made a big deal of that in the video.
Well, I think rightly so. I mean, that is one fear that people have with Glowforge is when their internet connection goes down, they're not going to be able to cut anything.
So I believe it runs a BeagleBone inside as its software. And you connect, there's a touchscreen interface on it. So it's not just like this one button touch. Touchscreen interface where you can have your past cuts, so you don't even need to plug into a computer. So you have your saved designs, most recent designs, plus you can adjust on the touchscreen your speed and intensity, the 2 variables you would adjust with a laser. But it's the software runs on the cutter. So when you plug it over USB or Ethernet or Wi-Fi even, you just type an IP address and you're running web software.
Oh, wait, so there's a web server in the machine?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you don't have to run software, and it does all the...
You run an IP, you type an IP address.
And you upload an SVG or whatever.
And you upload
you
your vector or your raster. And because the laser cutter has Ethernet or Wi-Fi that you can it can itself connect to internet, they can push updates out and then it'll update.
How does the build area, it looks like it has a 20 by 12.
20 by 12, which I think is very comparable to the Glowforge.
Okay.
I don't have the Glowforge off the top of my head, but it's not massive, and I think that people really need to realize that we're not saying that glass lasers are bad or unreliable, but the difference in cost, you get something different when you buy a metal laser also.
I mean, no one who's a hobbyist is looking at metal lasers.
Exactly. Like no one who's a hobbyist and looking for a laser to prototype things in their garage is looking to spend $20,000 on a laser. On the same end, if you're a school or a makerspace, you are the type of person, you're the type of institution where you might be deciding whether you want to spend $20,000 or $10,000 and buy a nice metal laser or buy 3 CO2 lasers, however the pricing works out, right? Like what's going to be best for your, so you have to factor what the consumables are.
But this new generation of laser cutters is really also getting into user experience.
Absolutely. And so the software experience, what they showed was that there are design tools also in there. So you can type in text and you can draw in shapes. So you don't have to design. You could outside of their interface, which is one of the things I'm worried that Glowforge, like the back and forth. Glowforge is super easy for me to do something in Illustrator and load in. But if I want to make tweaks, I got to go back to Illustrator. If I want to scan something and I want to do an outline around it, it's nice that it's all built into one software platform. There are a lot more inputs, outputs of this because you have water that cools it. There's air intake because it actually blows air from the head off, and the Glowforge doesn't do that either. It just has one big fan that runs air as an exhaust. I don't think they're selling a filter. So Glowforge has a filter. Which is relatively low cost.
A vent.
Yep, you still have to vent it. and they have an add-on, so you can buy like a rotary adapter, and you can actually remove the base and raise the base, so you can cut into deeper, not cut deeper, but cut into objects that are thicker.
Do you happen to know whether or not this is their own design of the actual laser cutter? Because I looked into full spectrum laser
Yeah.
when I was just flirting with the idea of getting a laser cutter long before Glowforge, and it was always very expensive. But I wanted to see what was going on, and they've been around for a while now, and they built a company out of what I understand is they buy them from China, and you can get inexpensive laser cutters off eBay from China, but they're extremely difficult to get working, and so they would take these laser cutters and then apply their own firmware and software that simplifies the user experience. I mean, not to the extent that it is now with this Muse, but I wonder if this laser cutter
The whole chassis and
is
everything.
their first original design. I don't know.
I think it is. I haven't looked into what the hobby lasers like are in China. The software is definitely theirs. So I gotta say, because of the interface, it's something that maybe what they're taking in and is like the tubes they get from China, like
Right.
that's maybe where they source it, but I'm not exactly sure.
I mean, I would think putting a laser on the head is pretty custom.
Yeah.
I don't think other people are doing that.
The nice thing is that they're shipping also.
Right now.
They're shipping right now. They've made a big point, and obviously they know who their competitor is.
Wait, was
they,
it announced and shipping same day?
They announced it earlier last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is I think CES was the first place they'd shown it, but they had like prototypes at Maker Faire last year. But they were shipping, and again, yeah, like I said, they know that Glowforge is their big competitor. I don't know how much a Glowforge is currently without the backer pricing, but I think it's like $4,000.
Muse is 5K?
Yeah, and this is 5K. We're gonna get one in the test.
40 watt.
45 watt. Yeah. So it's I believe it's the price of the higher Glowforge, or the power of the higher end Glowforge.
It says 40 watt CO2 laser. Tech specs.
They told me 45 watt.
All right.
Yeah. We're gonna test it.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
looking
really?
forward. Yeah, I mean, I like that there is competition in the space, and more importantly, I like that it gives us a fuller understanding of the capabilities of CO2 lasers.
I feel like with all of these tools, especially the laser cutters, like the long-term reliability is really
Yeah,
like the interesting question that I don't think anyone really knows the answer for.
and the not only long-term reliability but long-term safety. And the thing that's unfortunate is when you have a low barrier to entry, a relatively low cost, even when we're talking about in the couple grand range, accessibility more often than not overwhelms the consideration for reliability and safety. And I think these are going to be safe. I don't think they're not safe at all, but it's so much easier for someone who's a upper middle class enthusiast to drop $2,000 on a crowdfunding project and get a laser in, and then if they use it for like 3 years and it breaks, then they're like, okay, then I'm going to upgrade to the next thing, but I got the experience. Whereas if you're in the market for a 5-digit laser product, then you want that to last 10 years.
Yes. I mean, just to be clear, though, I mean, like, unlike 3D printers, you can, if you apply your time to it, easily make your money back with a laser cutter in less than a year.
You're talking about selling things.
Yeah, I mean, there's a market for plaques and graved laptops and all kinds of things.
Well, that's the other thing too, is that we're finding out, even using Glowforge, rastering is really time consuming, and even though regardless of their production delays. Last year I talked about wanting to do my wedding favors with a laser cutter.
Yeah.
Like doing the math now, I don't think I would have been able to do it with one Glowforge. 200 things in time would have been very, very time consuming. Whereas with a bigger bed and a metal laser, that was done really quickly.
You didn't make your money back on those. You should have charged people to come to your wedding.
All right, we got to go into other parts of CES.
Okay.
We'll do more of a lightning round.
Yep.
Why should I care about a $5,000 monitor?
Oh, okay. We're jumping to the monitor. All right. if you had $5,000, would you spend it on a laser cutter or a monitor?
Dude, no question, a laser cutter.
Laser cutter, obviously. This Dell showed off two products that were, I thought, really, they've shot a ton of things, but the two things I found most interesting, one, an 8K monitor, 32-inch monitor, PC monitor with 8K resolution. And we didn't do a long video about this, but the fact that we saw in person a product that will ship this year, an 8K monitor, blew my mind.
What size is it?
32 inches.
Okay.
It's amazing that they can even transmit the amount of information from the computer. Like, how many cables are coming in?
Two cables, two DisplayPort 1.3 cables. It will run at 60 hertz. That's a lot of bandwidth. The thing that astounded me was we've been to CES. I had my badge. So when you pick up your badge at CES, it tells you in the bottom corner how many years. And I was in the 10 to 19 years. And I was like, whoa. I don't know how I feel about that. That's a lot of years of CES. Someone said that was that's your expected life expectancy.
That was Chet.
Yeah, Chet said that. But back in 2012, when Will and I went to CES, we were blown away that there was an 8K LCD that Sharp had, and we got really up close and like, this is mind blowing. And now, 5 years later, it's something that people can buy. I just like seeing the progress. But as a and you project it forward, yes, it's 5K this year. But what that means is, and that's not for me, I'm not going to buy it. But that means if I look forward 2 or 3 years from now, maybe it'll get down to $1,000. And if I can buy an 8K monitor for $1,000 and up in 3 years, have the video cards be able to push those pixels and have the OS make use of that and have software make use of that, that is a future I love. And that's the reason I go to CES, is to see technology like this.
Hold on now. You're ignoring the practicality standpoint.
Okay, so let's talk about...
Is there a practical use case for a 32-inch 8K monitor?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
And I'm glad it's not 27-inch, because I would say no at 27-inch. The way I would use a 32-inch 8K monitor, I would use it for photo editing, obviously. That you can run, I would be able to run Windows at 200% scaling, so it would look effectively, the desktop would look like a 4K monitor.
Right.
But at 32 inches, which is better, bigger icons and more crisper text than I'm getting on my 4K monitor at home now. But software can render images and video at 100% within the window, within the context of the window. So I can open Lightroom theoretically and load in a 30 megapixel image and not have to zoom in and see all of the pixels and edit in real time, as long as the video card can render that, and as long as I can make the edits without it looking choppy. That's awesome.
All right, I'm sold. That's good purpose. Yep, that's true. It's a race now between technology and your eyes failing.
I mean, at some point, yes. I think even if you look at the PPI, like, it's not as dense as like some smartphone screens, right? But you're using it at a different distance, and it's a very niche use case. We'll put it at that. The other product that Dell showed was the Dell Canvas, and they had released a teaser video for this, I believe, shortly after the Microsoft Surface Studio announcement. Everyone was like, oh my God, Dell was working on the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. It's basically a Wacom Cintiq. 27 inches, sits on your table, so it doesn't fold up all the way. It's not an all-one, and it's just a display. $1,800 for a display using Wacom Cintiq technology. And what I did here is that if you compare it, I don't think it's the latest Wacom Cintiq technology, so I don't think they license the latest and greatest in Wacom. So the latency, definitely I could see it when the person was using the demo, moving windows in the demo. But it looks like a nice screen. It's matte, so you can draw. You're encouraged to draw on it and won't scrape off. Has bezels, and bezels are actually pretty useful if you're using a screen to draw on, because you can use it as a hard edge. You can rest your palm on it. And it also works with the Microsoft Dial API, so you can have that rotary tool.
Oh, neat.
Yep.
Is there that big of a market for this artist market that these two groups are going after?
I think so, yeah. Because look at the company that's not servicing the artists right now. It's Apple.
I guess so.
I mean, the art director that we worked with when I was doing the stuff with PlayStation just salivated over those Wacom displays. Just absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Another thing we saw, Pico Brew. I'll talk about this real quick. $800 on sale now. I think you can even buy it at your kitchen supply store or what's that? What's that?
Oh, this is an actual brewing device?
Yes. So this is a beer brewer.
I thought this was some computer thing of some sort.
No.
What do you put in hops and barley? And
That's exactly, you
it
put in grains and
spits
hops.
out. You're kidding.
So
This is so unnecessary.
here's how they pitched it to me. And here's why it was interesting. Joey and I were talking about this. There are some breweries out there that have recipes, their grains, their hops, that you can't get because they don't bottle. And so they're partnering with breweries around the world so that you can get and you can make it at home. But it is a process, right? So the process, I'll walk you through it, is that you order the pack. They call it the beer pack, and it comes in like this compostable box. And you have one segment that's your hops and one segment that's your grains. And you put it in the machine. And the machine looks like a large coffee maker, essentially. It has a reservoir, and it's basically, it's sous vide. It's controlling temperature and time. So it has a controlled temperature, controlled time, and it mixes the hops and the grains. And then from that, it pumps that into a keg, and then you have the brew keg, and then you got to cool that for a night or something, and then you pour in your yeast, and you ferment that for a week. And after you ferment it for a week, then you put it into a serving keg, and then you mix your carbonation, and you can dispense 5 liters of beer.
Yeah, so you described the brewing process, but now a computer controls it, which is basically not the point of home brewing.
Yeah, it's not doing it in your bathtub or in a pot.
And so I find this marginally offensive.
Wow.
I do, because I think there's something about like actually getting your hands dirty and like mixing and actually cooking the wort that is quintessential here, and like hitting a button where you watch it happen. I think it removes all the art from brewing, which is part of the enjoyment of home brewing.
So is the art the choosing of the ingredients and the choosing and the mixing? Because what they'll allow you to use their website to make your own recipe, right? And they'll ship you all the ingredients. So is it the difference between hand mixing your batter for baking a cake or using a KitchenAid mixer? This is the KitchenAid mixer for mixing, but you still gotta bake it, and you still gotta ferment it.
But it removes a lot of that process.
Absolutely.
And I get the part of like simplifying it, having one machine do a lot of different components of that makes it more accessible for certain people. But I find it removing a little bit of the soul.
The soul of beer brew. I mean, and the thing that I asked them is, will this machine let you, buy hops and buy grains from your local supply store and put it in? And unfortunately, no, you have to buy the packs from them. I think
this is reminding me of that $700 juicer now.
Wow.
Where you had to buy like the packet of frozen. Not okay. I will happily test this device out.
They're gonna send one. So I want to test it, not so we can just make beer at the office, but I think it helps us get a better understanding. If we can control the variables like brew time and temperature of the science of brewing beer.
For me, the hard question here is, with all of these kitchen devices, they have to be solving a realistic problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not clear if this is solving a problem that exists or not.
There's still quite a lot of manual process involved, just in terms of labor and patience. So
yeah. I mean, you can buy more kegs and you can stagger your brewing, but like, why wouldn't Rogue brewery just sell a mini keg and let you tap it at home? Right, like why they need to sell the grains and hops?
There's a bunch of like keg delivery services of like mini kegs from these locations now. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Dibs on testing.
I mean, and that's the thing. It's for if you're someone who wants to maybe go into brewing professionally, this may be a way for you to try recipes quickly.
I don't know, not that quickly. You gotta wait a week.
Well, you'd have to wait. You'd have to wait for beer to ferment.
Yes, This device does not speed up how fast yeast poop out CO2.
All All right. What else did I see? I actually didn't see this, but I read about it, and it was something I regret not having seen. Intel announced a new compute device, a small computer.
This is the one the size of like a credit card.
Exactly. And
Wait, what?
yeah, so you know how Intel has their compute stick that they did last year, which is just like a HDMI dongle, and you plug it in, you plug power in, or mini HDB, and it shows that their processor is small enough that you can put in RAM, processor, storage, and video inside a USB key, essentially, HDMI key. Well, that didn't exactly work out. Turns out people weren't carrying those keys around and going from place to place. So their next thing is a compute card, and it's something that can fit in your wallet, but it has processor, RAM, storage, and
I mean,
you would adapt it. I think it has USB-C out, and so that has video and power and expandability. But the idea is that people can create docks that this thing can slide in.
So part of the problem with the stick is that people weren't carrying it around. I mean, this still has that same problem.
Yeah,
to a
so
certain extent.
they're hoping that form factor was the reason that people weren't carrying it around, like keychain versus wallet, and also by changing the form factor so it's flat like this, you also can put more. You can spread out the electronics a little differently.
Right, it looks like a USB battery pack.
Yeah, I guess it's
Thinner
still a
than
little.
that.
It's a little, it's a little thicker than a USB 3 port. So it's not a credit card. Don't think of it as a credit card.
Right.
Think of it as, a real small and thin USB battery pack.
Weird.
That's interesting. I have to ask about one thing that so there's two things I saw that I was most excited about. Do you see the Razer gaming laptop that had like the fold out screen?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Razer has every year does crazy stuff at CES. And, the feeling is now they do these prototypes as proof of concepts because they can. And I'm sure they're not cheap to do. But let's review the last couple of years before we talk about the products to really give the context of what of Razer and their MO. What they've shown at CES is rarely turned into a real product. We saw, for example, Project Fiona, which was that like dual grip with a screen in the middle, handheld gaming device. Never was released. There was that modular computer case we saw a couple of years ago that had like panels that flipped out. Never
So
was
what?
released.
They're testing the waters. It's a perfect audience to test new products with. I mean,
It's not CES isn't exactly market research. It gets them a
You
lot
don't
of
think
press
so?
attention.
Fine, but if they get enough attention from the readership of all that press, then they might actually consider making it.
I don't know.
Do you think that would be a good product?
So I'm glad that they do these projects because I love just seeing the novelty of it. I don't think this would be a good product. I don't think having 3 displays built into a laptop is a good product for the weight and size costs. But the fact they built it, and the fact their design spec was that they built 3 4K monitors, 3 17-inch monitors, put on top of a laptop, and that automatically separates and it bends and angles itself.
Automatically.
Has a
that's
mechanized.
pretty-
I thought you like put it up and
Yeah.
slid the
Looks like
the
that.
panels.
Huh.
No, apparently their design spec was that you press it and then it folds out the
Yeah.
screens.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
That's
I'm into that a lot
that's
more
like
now.
it's a sci-fi. It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's practical.
A lot of people joked
all.
about imagine the middle seat on an airplane using that laptop.
Yeah. And they also have like, funky code names. This one's called Project Valerie, although I think in some of the documentation they provided of their media materials, it was like it's Cerebus. Cerebus is the logical name for this 3-headed beast. So I did get to see it run, and it ran on top of the Razer Blade Pro, which is their big high-end gaming laptop with a GTX 1080. They had Battlefield running on it, but it wasn't running with 11,000 pixels across. It was running at 4K stretched out. And it's just like, having 3 monitors at home. Games most games aren't made for that kind of field of view. So even though you get really kind of peripheral information, you're never really looking left and right. You're seeing like flashes and some action, which makes you actually turn your mouse and then center that. But for productivity, I could see, productivity obviously makes sense to have multiple monitors if you're doing video editing or photo editing.
Yeah.
But to have that built into a laptop, I don't think is actually necessary.
Yeah.
The epilogue for that is that those prototypes were unfortunately stolen.
What?
Yeah.
Oh
they
my
made 2
God.
prototypes. One
How
which
do you steal something that big?
Yep. They made 2. One was a functional prototype that we saw in our video, which we had Battlefield running on, and then the other was their display prototype, which had the display ID and the hinge system. Both prototypes were stolen. We found out on Sunday. It was a post on Facebook they made. Yeah.
Wow. So that idea of somebody in the middle seat might have actually happened. If you're on a Southwest flight from Las Vegas and somebody unfolded a giant laptop in front of you.
I mean, I guess it's crowded. I guess all the reps are busy talking to people.
They lock that stuff up so securely.
How would that? I mean, there's cameras everywhere.
I know.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
They're offering a reward for information.
Wow,
$25,000.
$25K.
Yeah, for information if it leads to an arrest and the recovery of these
Wow.
prototypes. Yeah. The other thing they showed was this thing called Project Ariana, and it's a similar concept in that it's about increasing your field of view for games, but a completely different approach. It's for desktop gaming, and this is a projector. And there's a lot of misinformation or not a lot of clarity about how this actually works or what the device actually is. And Razer wasn't being very forthcoming with that either. So they showed this prototype projector, which they say is a 4K projector. And they didn't talk about pricing at all. I think Gizmodo had a story that was like, oh, if it's $600, I think that's pure speculation. No way you're going to get a 4K projector for $600. And I will eat a hard-boiled egg if that becomes the case, and then buy one of these projectors.
That's it? Hard-boiled egg?
I hate eating hard-boiled eggs.
Okay, go ahead.
So it uses a fisheye lens
yeah,
on the projector to warp the image,
that's a good idea.
right?
Yep.
And the idea is that it projects behind you when you're playing. So you have it mounted on the ceiling, and it projects over your TV or your computer monitor.
Yeah.
But it combines computer vision.
How so?
So there's like a Kinect-style two-camera sensor also with the projector that sees the room and see the environment that the projector is going to project on,
Yeah.
and then shape the image.
I mean, Microsoft
They tried the Illumin
tinkered with that.
and they never came to a real product. So Razer's, I think, seized upon that idea and is making a prototype.
Does it see your TV and not project anything in that rectangle?
Yes. Yeah,
That's neat.
yeah. That was neat. But the idea is that it takes the image, from your graphics card, and so you're playing a game, you basically get an extended view, 360 all around your monitor or your TV that shows you some ambient info
Wait
as
a
well.
minute. So how does it? Do games have to support it?
Games have to support it.
Okay.
This is nuts.
You got to watch the video because it's seamless.
I would like to see it in action. Can we get one of these?
I don't think so. They had
No.
like one demo room showing it. You got to watch because it is a seamless blend between what's on the monitor and the background.
It looks cool. Yeah, I would want to see that.
I mean, it's all in this line of you know how like Philips did their light system you could put behind your TV and it
Yeah.
changes the lights of the room, and it's all about changing the ambient info.
But
So-
I get because you can just read the color data that's on the TV and whatever's on the edge. You can accentuate that or take average colors.
Right.
You're not adding new information. I mean, you're not adding the extremity and expanding the image past the border of the TV, which
new
is
contextual information
Right.
based on your interactive experience.
like expanding the actual environment display.
Yeah, because what they're talking about but essentially it's the same thing because it's about increasing immersion. And one of the examples they gave is that you're playing a horror game and a light flickers to the right of you, as opposed to wearing a VR headset where you can see the field of view. You have on the right side, you have flickering lights.
Well, I don't know, man. I don't know how many games are going to support this. That's my main question about
I just want to see if they can get a low-cost 4K projector out there.
it. It doesn't have to be 4K. It's just like,
I know.
your
It doesn't
retina can only resolve what you're looking directly at. All
Yeah.
that can be blurry as hell.
Yep.
I don't actually want this. I just want to see the demo of this in person.
You got to go to CES.
Well, then you're going to want it.
No, I'm not going to want this.
What are
We
the
got to
things I
talk
say?
about TVs, which
Yeah.
were basically a flop, like actual TVs this year. I mean, there's super thin, like, OLED's thinner than
That's
my
it.
phone
Right.
kind of thing.
Right. You know how every year there's a new trend for TVs? Like, what is the big selling point for this year's model? And this year was thin OLEDs. LG had this
Meh.
OLED that was ridiculously thin. It was like a pane of glass thin.
They did have some
But super
translucent.
expensive.
They had some translucent TVs that were cool, as sort of prototypes. But the use cases, like, when do I want my TV to just disappear? Like, somebody had installed one on like a cabinet. So like your one panel of your sliding door of your cabinet turns on as a TV and turns to just clear plain of glass.
I want that.
Yeah,
I mean, in the future, I do.
yeah, but it wasn't that blown away. But the services around getting TV to us, like the Dish Air TV, which we talked about last week. Did you check anything out?
I didn't
like
get
that?
to check that out, and that's where I feel like in terms of the space, the halls of CES, we only focused on the South Hall and the Sands Expo area.
So I feel like that was an interesting announcement. And then the Hulu Live TV announcement, how they're expanding. Like, they announced they added CBS to their portfolio, and then they're going to be adding a live TV service coming up soon. And this is the first time we saw much information about that. Like, there's starting to be plans to take shape. It seems to be like, on the in the same vein as like the PlayStation View. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
View?
PlayStation View, Sling TV, DirecTV Now, and now Hulu. We're getting live TV a la carte options.
Yeah, the price is supposedly under $40 a month for this service, which will include that you can get an add-on cloud DVR, which is totally what I want. So I'll be really interested to see how this fights with a DirecTV service.
And what I like is that consumers are, for the foreseeable future, going to be really price conscious about these live TV streaming options, because the interface needs, the user experience needs still a lot of work for all these things, for Sling, for PlayStation View. So, I'm glad that they're going to be cheaper for compared to your Comcast and your what is it, AT&T DirecTV service.
There's one last thing I saw that I thought would perk the ears of somebody here. Did you see the announcement about Super Retro Boy from Nintendo?
No, what is this?
That's right.
That's not from Nintendo, is it?
No, but did I say it was from Nintendo?
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, like I just meant to allude that it was from
Yes.
About the I think it's on the heels of that Nintendo Classic Edition release.
Sure.
So I thought that was great to see a retro Game Boy come out.
So wait, does it play Game Boy cartridges or what's?
I don't think you have to put in cartridges.
I think you do. Am I wrong? And in any case, yeah, it's basically a high-res,
cartridges.
big screen Game Boy. It looks like a Game Boy. Of course, they can't call it that.
But what does it run?
It runs cartridges. Game Boy, color, up to what, DS? I forget.
It said Game Boy Advance.
That would make more sense.
So
Yeah.
it comes with a 10 game in one cartridge, charges over USB, has battery built in, 10 hours on a charge, full color, but they license the ports so you can put in your old Game Boy cartridges.
Yeah.
$80 too.
Well, I mean, the NES Classic actually came with 30 games.
Do you hear that the NES Classic
I'm not
got hacked?
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
That's kind of exciting because
Yeah.
now I want one. So if you've got one and you got an extra and you want to sell it to me for what you paid for it, I'm buying.
That's a lot of conditions there, Jeremy.
Well,
I don't
they're
think you're gonna
selling for like
have
double, and that was before the hack.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're hard to find. But a Russian hacker, God, what was his name? It's got a funny name. They found a way to add new games to the new NES Classic that came out. So if you got a screenshot and you've got the ROM, somebody actually released an exe that does everything for you. Super easy, looks like.
Yeah, maybe just build your own emulation box.
Well, I mean, that's one way to do it, but like I really like their interface. Like, you boot it up. It's perfect for desktop, too, because it would fit nice on a tiny little part of your desk. Takes up an HDMI cable that I'm not using, plugs right in the monitor, and the controller cables are only like 3 feet long anyway. So perfect for sitting at the desktop. And you can add, I don't know, people are adding, like doubling the number of games in there without issue. And it seems pretty cool. I mean, I'm surprised they did that as quickly as they did.
Speaking of Nintendo, there will be a Nintendo Switch event, I believe, later this week. Friday. So we don't know, obviously, what's going to be announced there, but hopefully more technical details. And
Replacement kickstands.
we'll be talking about it next week.
Well, yeah, some of us will.
Yes. And then this week was also the 10th anniversary of the iPhone announcement.
Did you watch it?
Did I rewatch it?
Yeah.
I've seen it too many times already.
I watched it.
Phone.
Okay.
What do you say? Phone.
Got to give it up.
Internet communicator.
No, it was
Widescreen
a
iPod.
widescreen iPod with touchscreen
Touchscreen.
control,
Yeah.
and then a revolutionary mobile phone,
And then
a breakthrough internet communicator.
breakthrough internet
3
communicator.
devices.
'Cause-
Are you getting it, people?
And the image spun.
Yeah.
It spun.
This is one device.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Keynote and all keynotes.
Totally. But that, like the phone announcement, we think that the Apple announcements go on long now. Just the phone was an hour and a half. And it was all Steve.
Well, that was a big deal in retrospect. So,
And to be honest, like it's amazing how much hasn't changed. As I watched that and he's explaining how to use the phone, the tabs at the bottom of the phone app, all 5 of them, favorites, recents, contacts, keypad, voicemail, haven't changed in 10 years. Every single one of those exactly the same. And a lot of the functionality is exactly the same. Like the idea of visual voicemail, that was revolutionary. That was awesome. And now we just take it for granted. You can jump to whatever voicemail you want, skim through it. Stuff like that is fantastic. Obviously the web browser.
Pinch the zoom.
So much was on there that we just took for granted. You couldn't get GPS directions, but you could get directions. Like it wouldn't do live follow you there, but you could get full-fledged directions.
Yeah, you don't have to print them out.
Yeah. I watched it. I even put on a black mock turtleneck that day.
No
You
way.
did
Yeah, no,
not.
I did. You guys,
did you walk around the house like this, like holding your chin a
I
little
put
bit?
on my Lennon glasses. Yeah, I made everyone call me Steve. It's not weird.
It's not. It's not weird.
Do you think we'll ever, in our lifetimes, maybe not in the next 10 years, see an announcement of that magnitude? Or
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think we're going to see an announcement from Elon Musk where he's like in a theater showing this, and then the theater breaks away and there's a rocket behind him that lifts off to Mars.
Yeah, I mean, I think self-driving cars is going to be the next big thing.
but that's expected. The
This,
fact that
this was expected. No, we wanted the phone for a long time, and
but
then
we
they
didn't
finally
want.
came out
But,
with
but
it.
we didn't know it would have this functionality.
No, I
what's going to be the self-driving car? What
Well,
feature could you see in
no,
a self-driving car?
But when we saw the iPhone, when we saw that announcement, we wanted to use it so bad because we had never, we'd seen Microsoft Surface, but we'd never actually pinched to zoom before.
Mm-hmm.
And just the ability to do that with your photos just looked like it felt fun.
So what?
And I think being in a self-driving car is going to be that next thing.
So someone needs to announce a car fully self-driving, and it's about riding the first ride in your self-driving car.
No, I don't think that's going to do it. I think there'll be a press conference where they announce we found life somewhere else in the universe that will blow people away. That will be it.
You think it'll be? What about? That's not technology though.
Right,
It's a
you
consumer
can't,
product.
You can't use
technology.
that. Can the life come talk to us? You know,
No.
can we chat?
So
with it?
maybe
But you're talking about like a big reveal kind of thing. Where we'll be surprised.
I think AI. I think an AI service that will be as conversational, like the Turing
like a
test.
human, like a life model decoy will walk out and start talking.
Well,
to
no,
people.
just a box, like an Alexa style box. But the big jump is that you can have conversations with it.
AI? Yeah,
AI.
I think you're right. That will be the next huge thing.
Yeah, because that will be a thing. I mean, along with self-driving cars, a thing that you can demarcate before and after how we interact with
That's right.
environment and technology.
That's right. I feel like when we discover life, extraterrestrial life, it's going to be the biggest news in the history of the world for a day. And a week later, it's just going to be like, this is just the new normal. I feel people are going to evolve into just having that a part of their life so quickly.
Yeah. Last bit of news. Last bit of news that may not be good news for me. What's going on with my unlimited plan, Kishore?
I don't know what happened.
Or Jeremy?
Well, your unlimited plan is about to get a little more expensive.
No.
You'll recall 1 year ago, next month, you started paying $5 more every month for your unlimited plan. Your grandfather did an unlimited plan that no one else can get now. But that's not enough money for AT&T. So next month, you are going to start paying an additional $5. So I actually canceled my unlimited plan.
You canceled it?
Well, last night, because I said that's enough is enough. And besides, I'm not using that data. You actually get like 22 gigs
Have you not been throttled?
unlimited until you start getting throttled on the unlimited plan.
So you've never gotten those text messages?
No, never. I according to my records, past 6 months, I peaked at 10.5 for both me and my wife
Oh, because you guys share.
combined.
Oh no, combined. But you don't
Yeah.
share because you have an unlimited plan,
Right.
For each count.
So if we're combined at that, I just switched us to a 16 gigabyte plan, which also rolls over month to month. You get 2 months of rollover data, so potentially 32 gigs a month shared. We're gonna be fine with that, and we're saving $15 a month.
And you get, I bet you get hotspot built in too.
And we now get hotspot.
But that's going to help you use
Yeah, but we got so much extra data now, so I'm not worried.
What are you doing, Norm?
I'm checking my data usage per month
It's
because
too- I mean-
I pay a lot for my phone,
Yeah.
and I do have unlimited. View all usage. Oh boy.
So I'm curious if they've really been pushing the DirecTV upsell on you, because when you watch TV ads right now, they're making huge upsell on the idea that free data to stream any sort of media content if you have a DirecTV service.
That to be clear, that is the new unlimited plan. Like if you also have DirecTV, you can have unlimited data. But I'm pretty sure it has the same cap on it,
Oh, okay.
22 gigs. And they did try to sell me that. If you go and you want to change your plan, that's the first one they pitch you.
Like, I know this isn't net neutrality by measure of the law or measure of what that is, but this is starting to get skeevy to me.
I don't know.
No, that doesn't bug you. Oh, it bugs the shit out of me.
What?
That the mobile carriers here in the U.S. are offering free, exceptions on your data cap for certain services.
All right. Guess how much data I used in the last billing cycle? December.
Is it just you?
Just me?
I'm gonna say you use 10 gigs.
17.
21.64.
Whoa.
And
All
then
right.
in the November, 17.38.
All right, so dude might need an unlimited.
I think
plan.
I need unlimited.
I think you have a problem, is what that is.
Yeah, you
That
should get on.
repres-
You should get on Wi-Fi more often. Do you have you don't have hotspot service, do you?
No, I don't have hotspots. No, I do on my Android phone.
Oh, so that's also included
Yeah.
here. So 2 phones.
Yeah.
This is a combo of 2 phones.
Well, I only use Android when I travel.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so that's part of why maybe. Anyway, that's common. I don't know. They want people off that unlimited plan. I don't understand why they're not they're making less money from me now. So good job, AT&T.
Overages. They're hoping for the overages.
Not gonna do it.
Not get. Will you get the text notification if you get close?
I don't know. I guess I'll
Yeah.
tell you when I get close.
Oh, goodness. Telecoms. All right. That's it with technology. But before we jump to our next segment, I also want to remind you that we're going to thank the sponsor of this week's episode of This Is Only a Test. And that sponsor, once again, is Squarespace. Squarespace, whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, or an online store for your next move, it's all included in your Squarespace website. Squarespace offers unique domain experience that's fully transparent and really simple to set up. You can add and arrange your content and features with a click of a mouse with their built-in templates, no coding required, nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. And if you do have questions about running a website, you can turn to Squarespace's 24/7 customer support for help, no matter how technical or trivial seeming your problem may be. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com, and please use the offer code TEST, T-E-S-T, 4 characters, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. Again, that's TEST for 10% off your first purchase, and let us know what websites you're building, whether you use Squarespace or not. Squarespace, make your next move, make your next website.
I'm a pinball nerd. Pin. Just the right point. Finally, pinball. That makes me very happy.
So one product you did not mention at CES.
Yeah.
Did you see Stern's pinball booth?
I did.
They have a new pinball machine they've announced.
I didn't see that. I went to Batman right away.
Well, that was announced last year. That's a really interesting machine because that's a super premium cost for that machine.
It looked good.
Did it?
It looked good.
It's based on the old
1966
60s TV show.
Yeah.
Well, that was how they debuted their new display, which is a color display that sits in the back. Now they've introduced their second game to use that display technology, and it is Aerosmith.
Is it called Dream On?
No, I think there's a Dream On mode.
Oh, nice.
A lot of the classic songs looks like they have modes to them. But what's cool is that the artwork for this was done by the same guy who did Metallica, local guy named Dirty Donnie. And he does these kind of psychedelic monsters, kind of a little bit scary kind of art style, but it's actually gorgeous art style. And I'm so glad to see Stern embracing that again because they have a reputation for doing these Photoshoppy, designs that look more like photographs that have been formatted to fit on a pinball machine. They don't always look that great. Dirty Donnie stuff is fantastic. Aerosmith game looks fantastic, and I'm excited to play it. I'm okay on the band. but like kind of like Metallica. I'm like kind of okay on the band.
So, like, their music is licensed and plays during, like,
Absolutely.
full songs play.
They've been doing a lot of these now. They did Rolling Stones and AT&T, AC/DC, the Metallica, and now Aerosmith. So yeah.
How much is this thing?
Well, it's with their new display. They're saying that it costs a little bit more. So I think it's retails. What do you show there? Is that a retail price?
Yeah.
For $5,700, you can get it for less street, but still you're gonna be paying over $5,000.
Question: do they
I want to
ever?
know what the street pinball.
Well, you don't get it on the
Purchasing-
corner. Like some guy
Yeah.
doesn't have it inside his jacket, but yeah, all the distributors have their own pricing.
Do they ever time scoring with songs like you? It's like
Oh,
not
like you have to
DDR
finish the
style,
song?
but you finish the song, or you have
That's
to hit it
funny.
at a certain, when the beat drops, you hit a certain point.
I've wanted to see that kind of thing, like a rhythm action pinball game where you do things on the beat. They make certain shots sound like instruments sometimes, or like little guitar wails.
Yeah.
The jets sometimes boom, 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 boom. They sound like drums. But no, I've never seen something like that where you have to finish something before a song ends. That's an interesting idea, though.
Yeah, maybe it's asking for too much precision.
AC/DC has a wizard mode, which is like if you beat the game, you play it. The song that it plays at that point is a 15-minute song. So you have 15 minutes to win the wizard mode.
All right, next segment.
Now it's time for a moment of science. All right, so this week I have one update, one story, one new science tool, and one rant. I'll let you guys choose which order.
How about in that order you listed it out?
Okay, fine. Update on the Diet Coke experiment last week. Lots of comments and questions and more comments.
It was almost as if nothing else was discussed on that entire show. It really felt that way.
So
What about the Bitcoin?
So lots of comments about it. I'll address a couple. Like a lot of people brought up, hey, vapor pressure really matters here because it's exponentially related to the temperature. So if you want to keep a lot of the CO2 in solution, you lower the temperature of the soda and then it won't fizz as much. My response to that, while that is completely true and the vapor pressure is really important, if you've lowered the temperature of the soda, then you have a cold soda to begin with, and that eliminates the problem that we stated at the outset, which is Norm wanted a cold soda. So I'm going to slightly disregard that, though it is really interesting when you go down the rabbit hole about how companies like Coca-Cola actually package Diet Coke at different pressures depending on different markets, apparently. This is the theory, at least.
And which changes, I mean, if the idea is that they put more pressure in a can because they know maybe it's not going to be cool, and then you want to pour it on ice. But if I like freezing cans, I like that crisp, the extra carbonation, then that changes what my expectation is of Diet Coke. Now, I do believe at fountains, they do put more carbonation because there it's a more controlled experience, and most people do put ice, and they don't. Yeah.
And part of the reason they do, if you've ever tasted flat soda, you know it tastes sweeter. It's the carbonation does impact the flavor profile. It does tend to cut the sweetness for us. Will Smith, a friend of the show, indicated that there is a perfect level of carbonation for any soda. I rebut that argument that I think there is personal taste at play.
I love that Will's been demoted from founder to friend of the show.
I feel like friend of the show is a pretty good title, no? All right, I'll get comments on that one too.
Oh my God.
The other thing, and I think the more interesting one, is this idea of that there's something called dry ice and wet ice. The idea that you can have ice that's slightly melted that has a wetter surface, which is what would exist in sort of bartending situations where ice is sort of out and about, versus ice that has a very dry surface. And what I sort of came to the conclusion of after I built a new rig to test this, so I created a rig that will allow me to pour Diet Coke down a funnel and it would split off into tubes and pour them into two different glasses at the same time. And I loaded two different ice in it. I tried this wet ice theory with the idea of like how Zambonis work, that like if you put a layer of water on top of ice, you can essentially fill in gaps where nucleation would occur for the soda. And there was a slight difference in carbonation. So if you like pre-wet the ice cube that goes in, you can make a difference. And while the temperature doesn't go down as much with the larger ice cube, I still stand by that finding that putting in the one large ice cube seems to make a difference in terms of the overall carbonation that comes out, though the soda doesn't get as cold as quickly.
All right.
I'll probably get more comments.
We're short on time because he's not asking any questions about pinball or ice.
We got to get to VR.
Oh, that's what he's excited about.
Okay. All right. So the story this week is I watched a lot of football, and there was this awesome college football championship game, Clemson versus Alabama. There's a moment in this game, Jeremy, I'm going to show you. I'll put this in the show notes.
Okay.
This wide receiver for Clemson got hit like that, and you can see based on the hit that he's unconscious before he hits the ground. And all of college football and the NFL have concussion safety protocols where they have spotters and doctors on the sideline that pull people out of games, and they essentially have to go through tests, both observable tests and actual tests compared to a baseline test that they took at the beginning of the year before they're allowed back in the game. This guy came back into the game and actually made an important catch on the winning drive. And this idea of how well can we actually diagnose concussions is a big issue. And this week, not just this week, in the past month, there's been 2 major studies that have come out pointing to biomarkers that we can pinpoint that allow us to correctly diagnose concussions real time, which is something we've never been able to do. One was out of Northwestern, which took a group of people that were concussed and not concussed and played different auditory signals using a fundamental frequency and seeing if people had different perceptions of that. And they're able to identify the people that had concussions using this fundamental frequency. They responded differently to it. They put these electrical detectors on their head, just 3. These were kids, by the way. And were able to see a notable difference. The people that had concussions couldn't detect this as much. They indicated a 90% accuracy. There's one sort of big problem with this study. They did this with about 20 kids, 20 concussed and 20 not concussed. The problem isn't that, there's future work that's going to be done, but when you set up a study that has people that have concussions and people that don't, you're not setting out a situation that the test will actually run in. You want to set out a test that will look at a group of people that you don't know if they have a concussion or not. So you can understand the rate of false positives that might emerge or true positives that might emerge. And their study wasn't set up to do that properly. But so, you could say what if getting a concussion is really stressful on your system, and really what you're saying is a response to that stress in this concussion study. I think there's more work to be done, but that was interesting. There was another one.
Wait, how do I hear this frequency?
They basically put tones through headphones.
Can I hear it on the web somewhere?
I didn't see it, but I'm sure we could find it.
I'd love to hear it.
I have to look through the paper and see if they had a link to the actual tone. Why? Do you think you have a concussion right now?
No, I just want to see how obvious is it if I don't,
It's not that they couldn't hear it. They just processed it differently in a way that was really tangible.
Oh, that you can only measure with the electrodes. Huh.
And there's another group out of Western University in Canada that looked at 170 metabolites in the blood and came up with a sort of pattern that they found that would indicate concussion. Same problem that they had with the study as with the Northwestern one in terms of how they conducted it, that we can't know the accuracy real well. They claim 90% accuracy. A lot of the statisticians have called that number into question. But if they are finding patterns in with these biomarkers, there's room for hope that we'll be able to actually in real time diagnose concussions, which is something we've never been able to do. That guy from Clemson should have never gone back in that game. He was knocked out.
Big Alabama fan.
They violated some protocol there. That seems crazy to me. Yeah. And I think having more rigorous tests like that will eliminate that possibility in the future. All right. One new tool. We've talked about centrifuges on the show. I like centrifuges a lot.
Yes, they're complex pieces of machinery.
Well, unless you make one out of paper. So on my favorite things this year, you might have heard me talk about the Foldscope, which is a paper-based microscope that came out of the mind of Manu Prakash, who runs a lab at Stanford. And while I was there, I saw a demo of his paper centrifuge as well, which he just released a paper on. And it's this idea you take 2 discs, Velcro them together, and have a glued straw in the middle, and you glue one end shut, and you put a liquid in it, and you use like basically this like toy idea of putting strings through this disc and sort of twisting them and then sort of pulling them apart really quickly. You can achieve over 10,000 RPM doing this. And he was able to demonstrate that using this centrifuge that would cost about 20 cents, that they can actually do lab grade separations. And which is interesting if you're in certain areas that don't have access to laboratory equipment. There's a great video about putting a home centrifuge like this together.
This seems obvious to me. I mean, I've seen this toy before.
Yes,
I
it's a
had this
toy.
toy when I was a kid.
Exactly.
So, it's like,
but it's never been applied to
Right.
this context.
okay,
Is it
this
safe?
It's a whirly gig.
obvious
Yeah.
in hindsight.
I think it's an incredible looking tool. I might just build one.
Yeah,
It's fun. And then we can separate stuff. We can make pea butter.
I just like spinning things.
Aw.
And lastly, the rant. Donald Trump indicated that he is going to name RFK Jr. to head a vaccine committee. RFK Jr. is famous for having a position that indicates vaccines have caused autism.
He's an anti-vaxxer.
Which is wildly inconsistent with what the science says right now. No one like that should ever be in a position of making science decisions. And that is my fuck that in the science world this week.
All right.
That's all we have to say about that?
I think it is.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
Okay, this may be our final segment for this episode because I gotta pee real bad.
Told you.
But let's talk about VR and the stuff I saw at CES.
Thought we said no pee jokes. What?
Touche. So the big things I saw at VR. Let's go with the least interesting first. I tried on Osix VR headphones.
Oh,
Osix VR. They did a multi-million-dollar Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign for VR headphones, and you may have the same question that I had, which is, don't you get positional audio already with stereo headphones with the algorithms from all three of the major headsets, whether it's earbuds or the built-in headphones? And the answer is yes, you do. So what's different? Why would you want to pay a couple $100 more for headphones, and how are they made for VR? I didn't get very clear answers because I think the guy I was talking to was more of a marketing guy than a tech guy. But from what I gleaned from it, one, they have multiple drivers per ear. So as opposed to just one driver in each ear, you have multiple drivers in each ear.
mm-hmm.
Great. You actually get position around you and above you.
Yeah.
Two, they take information about the distance between your ears. So that information is fed into their algorithm when you put on the headset. So new information that the Oculus and the Rift and a PSVR don't feed into their software, and they process whatever sounds coming in through that algorithm to take that into consideration. And three, the headphones are also made for more than VR. They're also made for listening to music. So I don't think I need. Again, we only use it for a little bit, so I don't know how great the difference is going to be because I already like the sound of the built-in headphones. If you're listening to music on your laptop, it can play 5.1 audio, so music that's encoded for 5.1. There's not a lot of that around. But you can also play stereo music, but it can fake it so it looks like that music is coming not from inside your head with headphones, but coming from speakers around your room.
Right. So as you turn your head, if you turn your head to the right, you'd hear it more out of your left ear.
Exactly. So it's rotational information.
This is a horrible idea.
Yeah.
There's
That's what I said. That's not how your brain is trained to listen to music.
No sound engineer is intending for this to happen.
Sound engineers intended to be inside your head.
Yes.
But positionally for the instruments. So if they recorded it in a way like with binaural recording, where you're supposed to hear instruments as if you're sitting in the middle of a recording studio,
Yeah.
then this may be a great way to hear it.
But I don't think so. It's going to diminish all the quality of every instrument in order to make it positionally placed.
Did you try this?
Yeah, they did.
Do you try it with the Vive?
Tried it with the Vive.
And was it marginally better than your experience with the Vive at home.
It's only because they had a demo. I mean, the position sounded good. Like it sounded like they had you use the Vive controller to grab objects and move it around your head, and yeah, I could close my eyes and tell where the object was around me.
But you can't tell if that's actually that much better than what
no
it would be at
no
home.
A/B testing exactly. So that's why I said that was probably the lesser of the interesting things. But in terms of Vive hardware, 3 big things.
You came out pretty excited about this stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Hell
All right,
yeah.
here we go.
I have asked you not to tell me anything until now.
All right, let's talk about the head strap first. The deluxe audio strap. And
Okay, this is the thing that turns the Vive into an Oculus, right?
it turns it changes the ergonomics of how you wear the Vive. So as opposed to using the soft strap, which is more of a soft harness around your head right now with the top and the 2 sides, it's rigid. And it locks in. So you have a rigid sides. The weight is distributed a little differently when you put it on,
Doesn't it add headphones too?
and also adds headphones. And then smartly, the headphones are plugged into the Vive with a extendable, stretchy cable. So you can, like you put on the Rift, stretch it. I think it's even easier to put on than the Rift.
That's saying a lot.
Wow.
Now, but does it plug into the headphone jack on the Vive?
It plugs into right in the top of the headphone, the top of the headset. So I
It
think
doesn't use the 1/8 inch mini.
no, I think
jack?
where the 1/8 inch comes out of,
Okay.
it replaces that. So there's no it doesn't. There are no dangling cables, basically.
That's saying a lot. It was easier to put on than the Rift.
Yeah, because it can get pretty loose.
Yeah.
So you know how the Rift, you currently have the Velcro straps that preset your
The tension.
tension,
Yeah.
and then you put it. And so you do have to adjust those tension straps when you change the Rift between users. Here, because you have the ratcheting tightener and loosener on the back of the head, you can just loosen it, and even when it's at its loosest, when you put it on, it's comfortable, and then it really quickly tightens up.
So is all the weight held by your skull now? I mean, or
Most of it.
It's sort of like PSVR in that sense.
It's not like PSVR because it's not a halo band. It's not like a visor band.
Oh.
So the pressure isn't at the top of your forehead. It's still more like a baseball cap that goes
So it sounds more balanced than the current iteration.
much more
but,
balanced.
But you're still adding weight, and the Vive is heavy to begin with. Did you feel that after being in it for a little while?
I think the comfort outweighed the weight for sure. The weight was really impactful in existing setup. If you, 1, don't wear the strap on properly, or 2, because it's the soft strap. Here, I had my glasses in it and didn't have my glasses push against my face.
That's pretty awesome.
That was my concern because the Vive is already heavier than the Oculus
Yeah.
Rift, and you're adding now headphones and a structure.
So
I'm really glad to hear that it was more comfortable. I would love to try it, but I would also want to A/B it with the Rift.
I think even with a short time using it, there's no doubt in my mind that it's the accessory you're going to want if you have a Vive.
Sounds like it.
But of course, like to your point, if you're choosing just based on ergonomics between Rift and Vive, we don't know over long-term use. But the most telling thing about this, and the thing that worries me, is going to be pricing and availability. And the fact that they're calling this a separate accessory, it's not like, going forward, all Vives will ship with this.
Right.
But they want to sell it as an add-on. And the fact that the name is Deluxe Audio Strap tells me that they want this to be less about that it's gonna fix the ergonomics or improve the ergonomics, and more about they're selling you a deluxe audio solution and they're gonna price it as such. I would be really disappointed if this costs more than $100. I think
There's no pricing?
No pricing. I think $50 is the right price to pay for this.
Really?
I don't know, headphones and all.
That's
Yeah.
almost like I just want the strap, not the headphones.
Oh no, you want the headphones.
Well, yes, I want them built in.
Right now,
Right.
my Vive, I've experimented with the headphones, but usually I just play it out of my TV because that's the most convenient.
Right.
How were the headphones? Do they sound good?
Again, not enough time to use it. They do also, they pop out and you can slide them up and down, so ergonomically they're fine. But yeah, I agree. I want the built-in headphones. I just don't want to pay, if it comes out and it's $150,
That's what I would think it
that's
would
a
be.
huge upsell.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. I'm
Right?
thinking $100.
Yeah, 100 is probably the max. And still, I'm disappointed that this isn't, that they didn't, include this strap, but without the headphones, or, for future Vive users, that you're basically forcing people, if they want the best experience, to buy this accessory. That's my only disappointing part of this. But I think design, ergonomics, so far, everything looks great.
It sounds like we have to wait until the pricing info comes out, but this sounds really positive.
Yeah.
The other thing to think about is if they've already made this advance for the first Vive, if you can hold out for version 2, which they've never even announced,
Yep.
no doubt this will be a part of the stock equipment.
I hope so.
I mean, I would think so.
It must be the case. So, and I don't think that, I mean, from HTC's perspective, don't see it as a shortcoming in terms of the original design. Designs can always be improved. Don't feel like just because the next version of the Vive, you have to have the I'm not going to call it crappy, but like the soft head strap because that's the default option, and this is don't tier it that way. Just put the better one in make it standard going forward. The Vive tracker. That's the other big announcement.
This is
for
the wireless
Vive.
thing?
This is the puck. The
Okay.
tracking
Yeah.
puck.
And this is an official Vive product?
Official Vive product.
Huh.
And the idea is that, because Lighthouse technology is open, anyone could make a tracker like this. It's just that HTC, because they make the wands, the controllers, and they have the supply, they were the first to get this out. There's nothing stopping a big company, if they wanted to make an accessory with the photodiodes built in, to do that and build the software so it's recognized in a game. But this is a great solution for accessory makers who don't want to put that R&D in and who just want to make their accessory and get it tracked with an
Or
off-the-shelf
just
solution.
People at home, right?
And people at home, because everyone's a developer if you have a Vive. So it looks like the top of the HTC Vive controller, about the same size. It has the flanges. It looks like the 3 prongs out. And I think I counted about 21 photodiode sensors, higher density of that. It's also not hollow like the top of the Vive tracker.
Like a donut.
So it's
It's not a
heavy.
donut.
Then.
It's not super heavy either. The reason it's not hollow is because there's a mounting port in the bottom. So there's a screw mount on the bottom with a pin so it can lock orientation. And they had it on I want to say 6 different devices there, accessories, all of which
It also has pogo pins on the bottom, which
Yes,
are
pogo, yeah.
like non-secured
Yeah.
pins that you can create connections between. So something could connect to a gun or another device
Yep.
that has triggers and inputs and everything.
Exactly. And those pogo pins represent all the buttons and functionality that's on the Vive controller. So someone making an accessory can have, they can make their own Vive controller, but replace the touchpad with a D-pad or a thumbstick if that's better for their game. You can hack together. You can put a ping pong paddle on this
Sure.
and play ping pong and get your grip without having to hold the Vive controller.
In the video, you had a bunch of guns.
They had a bunch of guns, assault rifles, some which had, haptic feedback, like motors that didn't take information from the game for feedback, but just when you push the trigger, it vibrated, and the stock with buttons on the side. There was the most interesting one wasn't the gloves. I didn't try on the gloves, but they had this pistol that used it, and the pistol could rotate, so it goes from pistol to sword. You got to watch the video. So you look at the pistol grip, and then you twist the top of the pistol grip, and so it becomes a sword handle.
Okay.
So did you play games with some of these devices?
Yeah. So
How were they?
it was good. Now, none of the games I played had the modeling perfectly built in. So it wasn't like when I because my hands aren't tracked either. I wasn't like, so it's almost like I knew the gun was there and I could see the model, and it's great to have that physical representation. But I think it's okay for there to be a difference between what you see and what you're holding in terms of scaling, because as long as it's proportionally right, your hands don't know exactly if 1 inch is 1 inch or 1 centimeter is 1 centimeter. I think a lot of accessories don't need to have the full, as long as the weight distribution's right, they don't even need to be the full model. Like what you need for, as anyone who's built a PVC pipe gun for Onward knows, all you need is like the grip, the stock, and the trigger. Right? You don't really need a barrel on your as long as there's weight there. And I'm unconvinced that holding, even a 3-pound toy gun for long periods of time is going to be compelling for a lot of these games.
What about the baseball bat that you tried out?
Yeah, so that was, I think, the least realistic implementation. I don't think anyone's going to be playing VR baseball with a baseball
If
bat.
they want to destroy their monitors and set up.
They were saying they have pitch data for almost every major league pitcher, so you can actually try to hit balls.
So the company that demoed this really is selling this to baseball teams. They want to be like Moneyball.
That seemed like a high-price niche market. Kind of thing.
Yeah, where you would get baseball players in front of a simulator and throw pitches and take the swing data and then tweak their performance based on that. It's not for real home use. But the pistols, the rifles, the gloves, I can see a lot of consumer applications for that.
I think if like my first reaction was, well, I could just drop my Vive controller into a gun, and that costs a lot less. And that's an option. But the nice thing about the puck is that it has these pogo pins that allow the gun to become something I can
Functional.
actually use.
Exactly.
I can have safeties, and I can eject mags and all kinds of things.
Yeah, and I don't think it's too big. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, it looks really big. Like it's kind of cumbersome. Why can't it just be a small like cube thing?" Well, it needs to have field of view and take into account how people are going to hold these and attach them, and there's going to be guidance for how things are going to be attached to accessories, so that they're not going to promote occlusion. It doesn't make sense to, the baseball bat is actually part of the scenario because it plugs into the bottom of the baseball bat where occlusion would be at most risk, and even then it wasn't that occluded. I got a lot of good positional tracking if you hold a baseball bat or even bunt the same way you would a real baseball bat. There was like a fire hose simulator, so you had to attach like a fire hose. Yeah, that's
ridiculous.
Kind of silly. Cost is gonna be a big thing. I hope these aren't too expensive. Like again, $50. I think it would be a good price. Like the price of a controller.
We know it's going to be at the higher end of the market, just given
Where
how
VR
custom it is and whatnot. But I definitely want to get one in and try to make something ourselves.
That's
right.
That's the exciting thing. It takes away the R&D needed to make a positionally tracked object in Steam VR. And I would get a lot of these because as many USB ports as you can have dongles, so you can have, up to 16 of these tracked in your Steam VR space between your two lighthouses.
But doesn't the Vive headset only support 2?
So outside of, yes. So the Vive headset actually technically has 4 wireless connections built in, but only 2 are activated. The 4 wireless connections, it can store up to 4 profiles. I think they built it in for demo purposes. So you run out of power on a controller, you can easily power up another controller and give another demo. But only 2 can be connected at once to the Steam VR system. So you have to use a Vive controller plus one of these trackers, a tracked object, or you plug in a USB dongle. And so it also has a USB port.
Oh, the dongle will allow me to do the full 16?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, the 16 is an artificial limitation in Steam VR. Like the beacons, they're passive. Remember, they're passive laser.
Yeah, but they transmit, right? They're just like the Vive controllers would to the headset.
I'm sorry. The lighthouses are passive beacons.
Yeah.
The trackers themselves have data, of course. Yeah, because it's photodiodes. There's imaging data that goes over to USB, and Steam VR can take up to 16 trackers worth of data at once.
Oh.
It tells you how much computation is needed. But yeah, I want this on a beer cozy, my keyboard. I want it on all sorts of things.
I want it on a keyboard too, but I think we're going to see an actual keyboard with trackers on it.
That makes more sense to me. Yes, a keyboard with trackers where, like, if you could build into this native Steam VR interface where you can press a button on your Vive controller and if all your objects that's tracked pop into view in the menu, and then you can put down the controller, walk up, type on the keyboard, and then grab my controller back and have those things fade away. And have those things taken as chaperone also, right? If you designate that's a tracked, ceiling fan or something, or that's a tracked object that I don't want, a desk.
It might sound trite, but I think building a gun as a starting point seems the most exciting to me.
Yeah, and we're gonna learn a lot about ergonomics of VR.
The idea of what Jeremy said, like building a trigger that does something, building a mag that has actions in the game, that's really functional.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, outside the keyboard, everything else is a little, just sort of incestuous a little bit. It's like, it's not totally needed. But the gun, it'd be pretty too, because Testu would be building it.
Yeah, I think we'd love to 3D print something and fabricate something and put a tracker on it. The other accessory, the third thing, TPcast. So this is wireless VR. It's a Chinese company that's done a lot of wireless transmission technology before, and they got funded with the Vive Accelerator program to make this accessory, and it works.
This was a good interview you did.
Yeah, it was unsatisfying answers, but it was a good interview.
I didn't think so. I thought he did a pretty good job answering.
I was I felt like the question on compression was
Yes.
a little unsatisfying.
I want more clarity on that, but it was. I thought it was pretty. So it's supposed to be. It sounded like they're actually transmitting an uncompressed HDMI signal across from the headset to the computer, or actually to their own receiver,
To their own transmitter
receiver.
The receiver you plug out, you attach to the top of the headset.
Yeah.
It's a misnomer because these devices are transmitter receivers. It's a bidirectional signal.
Right.
And that was the big takeaway, is that it's not a passive video signal. When you fly an FPV drone, for example, right? There are a lot of parallels here. FPV drone, there are a lot of technologies that let you broadcast wireless signals, video signals from the drone to your monitor or FPV glasses, and you want low latency, but you sacrifice bandwidth for that. Oftentimes, you sacrifice clarity.
Yeah.
And for the lowest latency, oftentimes the best way is to encode it and process it as an RF signal, as like your old TV signals, not a digital signal, an analog signal. To do it digitally, you need special encoding, and you need a way for the decompression for the receiver on the monitor side to take in that signal and also not block out. Anyone who's had their cable TV interrupted knows what it's interrupted, or dish satellite signal interrupted, knows the artifacts of a wireless signal when it gets interrupted.
And
right?
more importantly, when it comes to VR, your latency is absolutely crucial.
Yeah. So
And so you don't want to incorporate any kind of compression phase where that takes milliseconds.
Exactly.
And just the transmission itself, you're worried about what kind of impact does that have?
So when I say the impressions were indistinguishable, as far as I could tell based on that demo, what I meant was that at some point I forgot I was using a wireless connection.
You would move your head around and it just felt like
It just
a wired
felt like
connection.
there was a wired connection.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like, one in terms of latency and two in terms of image quality. It didn't look like I was looking at some type of compressed image. It looked like it was just rendered the full image right into the headset.
They were saying it was 10 times the bandwidth of 5 gigahertz
60 gigahertz.
spectrum.
Yeah, which I know a lot of the people are worried about. Oh, well, what are the radiation dangers of that? That's still, like, water will, your head's going to protect you, right? Wear a baseball cap if you feel like if you're afraid of that.
Going straight to tinfoil.
Yeah, straight to tinfoil. But like I said, from the hands-on, it also got warm, so it felt hot on top of my head. Not while I was wearing it, but the unit felt hot when I put my hands on it. And I really tried to block the signal. I put the headset on, and I tried putting my hands around it. I tried waving, and the only time I would get a signal blocked is if I did really cup the entire thing in two hands. And at that point, the image freezes up on your screen, and you lose tracking data, obviously, so it looks like there's a hiccup in the rendering. And then the moment I released my hands, it was smooth again.
And were you in an area where there are a lot of other wireless signals, so the idea of interference, like...
Maybe not that, on that spectrum.
Yeah, I would say not. And that's my concern, is they're not going to be able to get approval by FCC or CE in order to distribute here.
Right.
The government takes the spectrum pretty seriously.
They absolutely do. Yeah. The other thing we were told is that signal on the transmitter, I mean, we don't know the power of that transmitter, which is something that the government will also regulate. And if it was up to us, we want a really powerful signal. Let it bounce off all the walls and fill up the entire room spaces. Because if companies are going to adapt this technology for VR amusement parks, they're going to need a really powerful transmitter. But I don't know if we're going to be able to put something that powerful in your homes.
You also discovered, talking to him, that there's a USB receiver for the data, right?
So that's a bidirectional. So the positional data and the input data from your Vive controller, from whatever accessory Vive tracker, as well as your positional movement, that needs to get sent back also with low latency, because it's the end-to-end from motion to photons, back to the transmitter, which that's getting plugged into your computer over a USB dongle.
And it'll last a battery life, a couple hours?
So here's a big question. They had a battery that was plugged in. It didn't look like the rendered batteries they had on their website. It was a pretty big battery. I had it in my back pocket.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the standard battery or the
you wear
XL
it
battery.
in your pocket?
Well, ideally it's kind of on a belt.
Okay,
right?
sure.
On the renders they have on their website, the battery is small enough that it can fit in the back of your head, like a pouch.
More weight.
More weight on the top of your head. But I'm happy to have that cable go to fit onto look like a magazine I'm wearing on a mandolier or something.
Right. Because it's now got to power the entire screen.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
What do you think, Vive's reaction to this type of accessory is.
Vive loves it.
Really?
It was at the Vive booth.
Oh, it was.
Oh, yeah.
See,
It's
that was
100% endorsed and promoted by HTC.
because there's rumors on Upload VR that they're working on their own wireless solution with Intel, and that's why I was curious about this accessory.
I don't think they would have any problem having multiple options in the field. I really want it, and the pricing was unbelievable. The fact that it went over, TBcast was available for pre-order. I think it sold out in 18 minutes. Going to launch in China first, and then come over to the U.S. But it was like $220, $250 for the U.S.
Is it compatible with the headset thing?
Yes. Yes.
It is?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
I wonder if that HDMI transmitter is also a receiver, or if it's just a transmitter now.
No, it's got to be a receiver. It's both. They said it's bidirectional. That's their proprietary protocol.
Okay. Because, I mean, HDMI has bidirectional data. They've got to be getting signal back.
Where do you have to put their transmitter relative to the lighthouses? Do they
So-
indicate that?
They didn't, and that's a really good question. I don't think it interferes. It wouldn't interfere because one's laser. But
It's-
they had it. They had it like 2 feet above the lighthouses and around the same corner of the room. Yeah,
It's really cool.
I want it.
Yeah.
And like I said,
I mean, you used the prototype at Oculus Rift, at the event, basically of their version of this. But I guess that's completely internal.
because that's rendering
So
locally.
this is kind of the best of both worlds then.
This is
Because you get the full power of a PC with no tether.
That's right, with no tether, fully rendered. Battery life is the only thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can develop a system. I think it's maybe too much to hope for to allow you to swap battery have a back reserve battery and give you like 2 seconds of.
You would need two inputs.
You would
right?
need two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but make that part of the game. It's like changing magazines on a rifle, right? Time to change batteries. Make me carry. If the VR developers are asking me to carry a 3-pound, I'm not sure exactly how much this weighs, a multi-pound VR rifle to play Onward in or some shooting game, I can wear a vest and have a VR battery pack.
What's funny is that I was actually recently thinking about selling my Vive because I'm only using the Rift because it's much more convenient for me. And I have the PSVR set up where the Vive is. So I'm just not using the Vive anymore since Touch came out. So now I'm like, well, hold on. Because this, untethered VR, that's a whole new thing.
It is. Yeah. All right. I think that's all the time we have for this week's
all the time
podcast.
Norm's bladder has for this
I'm
week's
gonna
podcast.
explode. And I'm flying down to LA soon. We got some production stuff to do.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
So thank
Norm's
you.
going to be gone next week.
Yes.
Don't you want to say where you're going?
I'm going to Disney World. Disney World.
That's cool, man.
Danica and I are going to Disney World, not for a honeymoon, but we were invited out by our friends, and we're going to be there. I'll be gone most of next week, and so I won't be on this podcast, but you guys are going to do the
inmates
podcast?
are ruling the asylum again.
It might be shot on iPhone, but we'll see.
You're making a shot on iPhone ad for it.
Put it on a billboard.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see what happens.
All right. And do we have an outro this week?
Sure. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
Who's it from?
Yeah.
Justin, a.k.a. Speed again.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
Is it all Disney stuff?
Of course. Yeah. And you wander the hallways, and Goofy comes out of a closet. That was out of context.
All right. Bye.
Bye.